Guys, welcome back. Memorial Day is coming up the end of this month, so I want to make some new door decor in my house for Memorial Day. So we're going to be doing all the red, white, and blues. I've got a bunch of 5-inch rounds here. At the end of this video, I'll let you know exactly how many 5-inch rounds we used, but what we're going to be making is a wreath for my door. So I've got a wreath frame here. You can usually find these at Dollar Tree if you want something that's cheap and easy to get, but any craft store will have these as well. I've also got a couple of 160s here, which we're just going to be using to hook everything together and make our wreath. So first things first, you're going to need to start inflating your 5-inch rounds. I find it really helpful to have a bin or a basket around to put these in while you're working. If you don't have something like that, you can also take a trash bag and get yourself a chair, and then you can kind of tape or hook the trash bag onto the back side of a chair, and then you can just drop your balloons down into your trash bag. Now when you're blowing up your 5-inch rounds, you just want to make sure that you're doing 2 at a time and that they are kind of different sizes. So I'm not measuring or counting when I'm inflating these things. I'm just kind of making sure that one is a little bit smaller than the other, and then I'm doing different colors all the time. So I'm not going to have like a whole bunch of red together in one spot, but I'm always doing 2 different colors tied together and just trying to switch it up as I go. Now this is a wreath, so you don't want your balloons to be too big. So I am not going to fully inflate any of these. They're all going to be underinflated, some just more than others. And then after you inflate your balloons, some colors like the pearlized finishes and the chrome balloons won't blow up quite as round, like a nice ball, as other colors. So one way you can fix that is after you inflate them, just give them a little push on your abs. Give yourself a little ab workout. And that'll round out those balloons because you want the round ball shapes. You don't want like egg-shaped oval balls on your wreath, unless maybe it's Easter, I guess. But you just want to make a bunch of these, and then once you have 2 pairs together, you're just going to twist those to make groups of 4 balloons. And so we want to have a bunch of groups of 4. So we're going to set those down and then keep inflating until you have enough to combine 2 groups of 4 to make 1 group of 8. That's what we're really going for. Okay, so I've got a bunch of groups of 4 in here now. You can kind of see how pretty it's going to be when all the balloons are just laid in here. You get a feel for your color scheme and if it's working or not. So these are all grouped in little groups of 4. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 groups of 4 and we're going to combine these to make groups of 8. So I'm just going to take some nozzles that I can pull out from each group, and we're just going to tie both groups together with those nozzles using a double knot. This shouldn't be too hard to do. It's a lot easier to do with these 5-inch rounds than say 11-inch or even larger balloons where the nozzles are a bit tougher to pull out. It shouldn't be too difficult with the little 5-inch rounds. So go ahead and do that for all your groups so you have 4 or 5 groups of 8 balloons. So I've got 5 groups of 8 balloons now. So that's 40 balloons that we've used total, and that should be enough to cover our wreath. Again, that's going to depend on the size of your wreath frame. This is just kind of your standard, I don't know if it's 12-inch or what, but your standard wreath frame. Okay, so now I'm going to take a 160 and make a ribbon out of it. So just start at the end of your balloon and squeeze all the air out. And then we're going to tie it so it stays flat like a ribbon. And then I'm going to just pick a spot on the outside rim of my wreath frame here, and I'm just going to tie this 160 right onto that wreath frame. And now we're going to start putting our balloons right on here. All right, this works best on a table, so I've switched our camera angle so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to place my cluster of balloons right onto my wreath frame, and you want to wrap around each cluster twice. So right about here and another part right about here. So you want to have the 160 going around this cluster in 2 places to really hold it on. Whoops. Twist that on better. There we go. So I'm going to just hold that on there and take my 160. We're going to wrap it towards the beginning of the cluster. Come back behind your wreath and then we're going to wrap it again towards the end of that cluster. That will keep it from wanting to rotate once it's on the wreath frame. You're going to have a bunch of balloons all mushed in here, and if you only have one attachment point on these things, they can rotate and show some blank space on your frame. So we don't want that. So I'm going to hold this 160 pulled tight. Grab another cluster, just put it right beside it. Same thing, we're going to wrap it around sort of the front of that cluster, and then again towards the end of that cluster. And that will hold it exactly where we want it. We still have flexibility to move things and scoot things around, but it's going to maintain a nice round shape for us. So keep doing that with all of your balloon clusters. And once you run out of 160 here, you can go ahead and tie on another 160, or you can just end this one off by wrapping it around your cluster, kind of around 2 balloons in a figure 8 pattern, and that'll secure it right there. And then you can just tie on a new 160 and start fresh with the new one. Now at this point, we have all 40 of our balloons on the frame. You can see the back, how everything is kind of wrapped around and snug, and there's no balloons kind of sticking up past the back of the frame to hold this up off of the door. So it'll sit nice and flat once we put it on the flat surface of the door. Now, if you want yours to be a little bit fuller, this is a point where you can twist in a couple more pairs or single balloons that you can work into any blank spots that you see that you want to fill in with some extra balloons. So I might put some more balloons over here and anywhere that I see the wire through my design. Another thing you can do is kind of scoot all of your clusters closer together. Just scoot them down on your frame, and then you'll have just kind of like one big blank empty space that you can fill in instead of having to fill in multiple empty spaces. So I've got a cluster of 4 here, and this is just going to fit right in here, and my little tail is already hanging out over here, so I'm just going to use this to wrap it onto the frame. Okay, now you just kind of play with the positioning of all your balloons to get everything aligned and looking nice. So the balloons are flat on the back, and you don't see any blank spaces or the wire through your design. Now, if you want to add some fun details, you can take something like this 160 star that I made. It's basically a 5-petal flower with a twist in between each petal. So you make 10 bubbles and then twist them all together, and then you can add stuff like this star just by, you can wrap it around the wire frame, or you can wrap it around a couple of balloons to lock it in there, and just add these around your wreath to add a little bit of fun Memorial Day elements. I've also got some of these top print star balloons. So these are much larger, so I'm gonna get my nozzle way down in the end of this balloon and just inflate it a little bit, and then squeeze that balloon around so I can get that star print on the top, and try to make this balloon as small as I can so it can just kind of fit right into my wreath somewhere. Okay, and then I got this pretty ribbon at Sam's one day, having no idea what I was going to do with it, because I know nothing about making bows, clearly. But I folded this thing over enough to make it look somewhat like a bow, and I've put a 160 on the back, which is also kind of holding it all together. And we can incorporate this into our wreath as well by just tying it on. Or you could use a balloon bow that you make with 260s, and that would be cute as well if you want to keep it all balloons. And that is my finished balloon wreath for Memorial Day. All that's left to do now is just to hang it up. And because of the frame here, and most wreath hangers are just gonna hook right on through one of these metal parts of the frame, so you don't need to do anything special to the back or make any little loops or anything to hang it with. You can just hook it right onto whatever you're using to hang your other wreaths. So let's go put it up and see how it looks. for this week's tutorial. I hope you guys like this one. A little bit different, not really an animal or a twisting thing, but it is fun and easy to make, and most balloon artists have lots of 5-inch rounds that they can use to make these as well. If you enjoyed this tutorial, I have more stuff just like this. I have a vault of video tutorials like this inside the twister hood. It's my membership for balloon twisting professionals and hobbyists who want to just get better at their craft and possibly start earning a living with it as well. It's full of members only tutorials, resources, printouts, Canva templates, all kinds of stuff you might need to run a balloon twisting business. I take care of all that sort of techie stuff so that you can focus on making fun balloons, taking bookings, and making that money. If you'd like to join us in there, we'd love to have you. The link is down below this video in the description. And in the meantime, I'll be over on Facebook looking for photos of your balloon wreaths this week. You can share photos of what you're working on in my free Facebook group. Just come on over and join us and let us know what you're making with balloons this week. And don't forget to subscribe, because I'll be back here next week with another balloon tutorial for you guys. So you want to make sure that you ring the bell when you subscribe. That way YouTube will actually send you a notification when my next video comes out. We'll see you guys then. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.